Okay, we'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2. Krista, happy Thursday morning. How are you?
Great. How are you, Jay? Coming to you live from Miami.
Oh, nice. Well,
Yes.
this is not Miami. This is Toronto. I'm wearing a Canada hat as long as our neighbor to the south is going ballistic, so I could be wearing this hat a long time. You're
Yes.
there, so you don't have to say anything. I will say, though,
Yes.
that this is something, and then we'll get into the real things. This hat is for the Toronto Maple Leafs baseball, which is like a independent baseball league that plays in Toronto. They play in the
Okay.
inter-county baseball league, which is great. It's awesome. They play in Christie Pitts. Love them. It's free. But they just signed apparently the best professional women's baseball player in the history of professional women's baseball, a pitcher from Japan. She'll be pitching in Christie Pitts this summer, so that's my plug for Toronto
Cool.
Maple Leafs baseball. Yeah.
That's very cool.
People did ask what the hat was because it is awesome, and you can get it on their website. Anyway, Krista, today is
Yeah.
Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Saturday is like Super Bowl Eve. Sunday is the Super Bowl. It's a
Yeah.
big cannabis shopping day today. Tomorrow is Saturday in advance of Sunday. I have a question for you because we've already talked about the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What next for
What
cannabis
next?
retailers? Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting about Super Bowl is it doesn't have the same effect, say, for example, as 420 or 4th of July, and then we don't see the same drop completely off. Obviously, there also isn't the same amount of lift. So it really is like an occasional base purchase. It has a customer purchasing something different than they usually buy, and therefore it doesn't pull and push around demand in the same way. Then what is next? I mean, obviously you've got a little bit of a lift in terms of some category shifts around Valentine's Day, depending on if somebody is doing the Valentine's Day promo with like chocolates, edibles, like lifts in those shareable products.
Mm-hmm.
What the next interesting thing is that we start to see a lift in just performance overall starting in March. And I like ask myself, is it, based off of trends and changes in weather, the customer being like getting out of the house a little bit more, like what specifically is it? I think it's largely geographically based also. And I think if we were to look back and layer on weather on top of the previous years, it would probably be a more insightful data point than just like we see a lift in sales. But really like March is when we start to see that general lift in terms of performance in stores. So what you want to think about is what inventory have you sold through in January and February? And if you only use January and February as the trend line and don't account for a natural lift that happens in March as well, you could be under supplying the store. So that's kind of like something to think about as we exit out of 420, because you really need to be making those inventory calls in the next like 2 to 3 weeks.
Sorry, out of the Super Bowl and into 420. So
yeah.
Sort of in between. Can I mention one other thing that I've learned from you just looking at March this year is that there are actually 5 weekends. So thinking about it week over week or like in week chunks, like whatever week of the year that is.
Yeah.
If you look at it just March, there may be a lift just because there's 5 weekends or the first is a Saturday. Yes. So put markers in place so you know that you're dealing with 5 weekends as opposed to 4, because that also could, right? Didn't I learn something?
Yeah, that 11% lift is usually just the baseline of sales. Yeah. It doesn't have a lot to do with like February versus March. Right. But yes, March is always going to look hot. Always looks hot because part of it is because of the weekends and number of days and way that the schedule has fallen over the last year or so, and this year as well.
And so you just mentioned thinking about your inventory as it relates to sort of getting things off the shelves, making sure there's enough in store. And then it's a transition time between, say, the second week in February and to 420, we have to manage inventory, of course, make sure you have enough on. But when do you start thinking about what's going to happen on 420? Is it too late, or can we start doing that now?
No, I think it is an appropriate time to think about it. Basically, end of February, beginning of March. It takes time to build like the right campaigns, and depends on what you're wanting to do. Also, I mean, it's just super noisy. The customer is going to hear a lot of things from a lot of different retailers. So there is a big opportunity to be like, how do we want to be different in the way that we are communicating, or what does it look like for us when we say like we're going to celebrate 420? What does that actually look like within our doors? 420 definitely presents as an opportunity to sell down aging inventory. It doesn't necessarily create a lift in overall sales when you take into account the drop off before and the drop off after. So it should be a moment for you to think through where we have aging, where we have product that is potentially becoming stale and the customer just isn't excited about it anymore, as opposed to selling the hottest stuff that's selling itself, because everything moves with such a large discount that if you are not paying attention, you end up selling at a loss around 420, and then you don't get any gains from the
Might as
revenue.
well shut down.
I don't know if you should shut down, but I don't know if all of the work is worth it. Like by the time you take into account labor and all of the effort in bringing that product to market, you have to really say, we invested X number of labor hours and X number of promotional dollars, for example. Did we see that come back?
Krista, that's good thinking as we sort of enter this new phase of the year. When do you think, this is a quick shot as well, what do you think we will know how Super Bowl was? Like, will there be data next week, or is that too soon to say this was a, banner year for like sales around the Super Bowl? It will be too quick by next Thursday to actually know.
No, next Thursday we could know. Why you would want to wait until probably Thursday is because we do see sales have a bit of a lift on the Monday after Super Bowl.
Hangover Monday?
Yes, I didn't know this until last year, that it is the day where the most Americans call in sick of the entire year. It is a economic concern for the government. But yeah, that there is a bit of a lift that happens on Monday. And so we would want to get through Monday, kind of like Tuesday sales, to see the trend line back. So yeah, Thursday could be doable.
Okay. It doesn't surprise me that Monday's a big people not going to work, because my son, who will be 11 this year, has been banned from too many chips because the last 2 Super Bowls, he has not gone to school the following Monday for a stomachache. So this is well known in our household that we need to manage expectations about how fun the Super Bowl will be, even without drinking, even without cannabis, just around food. Krista, have a good Super Bowl Sunday. Enjoy Miami. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Jay. Have a great day.